I had a very, very small fistula, which is a small opening from your surgery that didn't go so right, but I was living with it. And 4 days after that premiered, I did my first elective surgery to try to just get rid of it in 2012. And that turned into a complete disaster that got worse and worse. And present day, it was fine for a while. Present day, we're still trying to find answers for it. But because of that, fistula, that did set me back. I just spent more months without eating, and I was able to eat and fine then. But it also forced me to reevaluate, what I really wanted. And so I did, start college at Hampshire College that I just graduated 2 years ago, and that's where I actually took a course, The Science of Stress. And I wrote my paper where I actually did research for the first time and learned about PTSD from like a clinical perspective and realized, oh wow, all these things are, even sexual abuse, there were studies linking it to gastrointestinal things and things that like I had an instinct for because I could feel. And then that detour of taking a Science of Stress course ended up writing a whole new play where I'm played by two characters that have literally come apart. One's been sexually assaulted, one's in a coma, and the only way they can come together again is until they face each other and tell their story. And that I just workshop now. So slowly everything came together. And then I'm going to end that everything came together by saying, usually, like I would kind of, end the talk by singing one of the songs from my show that I wrote called Lost in the Corner, that I wrote on a really hard day when I couldn't eat and I couldn't drink, and all the power was out. And so there were no diversion tactics for me. And I just remember sitting there with a Sharpie and a piece of printer paper and just writing, oh, life is long, enough to sing my song. I will get my turn. I know this candle's bound to burn. I will get my time to sing. I will, even if it's anything. There has to be a reason I was born here. It's time to crawl out from the dusty corner. And at that time, that was just a poem. And I had no idea that years later I'd be singing it, on stage. I don't know how I ended, but usually that's, I guess how I would end that. But what I realized about these circles, because sometimes these detours can end in circles and circles, is that you finish one detour and another detour keeps going, and so like after this I still had the fistula and I was dealing with it, and then a year ago I got run over by a car and I broke my legs, and I was actually, that was my 28th surgery, but it was the most joyful surgery because I was so used to surgeries having no roadmap or clear step, and this was so clear, like people had done that before. And then like things worked. But since then, I've had, more medical problems with, with this fistula that has gotten worse and worse and affected my health, that now we're investigating, other answers. So I came here to learn it and try to see, how can creativity, when I'm still feeling like there's no control, where no one knows where this, this intestinal fistula is, or ways to solve it yet. Even if I can't solve it, what can I get through to just at least get to the next point? So I was really struck by the idea of the definition of a fistula, which is an abnormal connection or a communication breakdown, or something from the inside that shouldn't be connected to the outside that somehow has made a connection. And so I was very fascinated by the idea of passageways, and it reminded me of my whole detour idea of how you go on one path and it shifts, and I'm like, okay, now Amy is supposed to go on this passageway. So I've been writing about what things are like on this passageway, and I'm writing a new musical based on that, and I'm doing a lot of oral history interviews with patients with them and surgeons and doctors to try to get a lot of different perspectives on what it's like dealing with a problem that they've been told is unique just to them and no one else has it, which a lot of people with enterocutaneous fistulas are told. I've heard, so I'm learning, and I thought I was the only one. So now and I was very inspired by the last keynote. I'm actually going to share something that I've been just kind of writing on my own as I'm like kind of free writing about fistulas. So I'm going to do that really quick. This is it. Veiny tubes and pathways forming tunnels inside me, latching onto organs as they bleed. Hallways, breathes, and dialogues, but words left unspoken. Stitch-up old repairs have left a seed. The tunnel composes, raw flesh exposes, but something grows, the body knows. Open as the sea, but what really happened to me? All my parts are leaking, body and heart are leaking, but mind and soul are speaking, through pathways and wires, through hit-and-run Lexus tires, sap from a maple branch, snap goes the avalanche. Flood me with light and rain, sensations of flood me, it's bright and I drain. You open too much, you get a fistula. You open too much, you get a fistula. The place that I'm in, confused where to start. I'm in a fun house, mazes and trapdoors. I'm in an endless state of trick halls, mirrors, mazes, and doors. Like a ball in a chamber with no clear path. You keep going and going through the aftermath. But there's no math in the circles I go. I wait for an ending. I'm carried by flow. I know not an answer. We have yet a guess. A guise, a guess when this ever can be healed. I don't want my insides revealed. Stolen from me, round and round I go. But in square motions, footprints, imprints, and patterns, weird obtuse angles. Acute corners and creases, I'm falling to pieces. The fistula, through shards I fall, the wonder ball goes round and round, but where it goes, nobody knows. So we go to transplant centers and places shaped like hexagons, cathedrals, the wheel set in motion. Greek tragedies leak out of me, round and round, we know not where it goes. Inversions, conversions, diversions, a surgeon will rescue me, will he? Come from me with some key, but nobody's inside. So what do? You hide. The broken glass, the glass half empty, glass half leaking, leaking wide, deep inside, I'll try to hide. They found me out, but nobody knows what I'm about, including me, leaking from my core, including me. That's what a fistula is, rotten to the core. A fistula leads me on so many mazes and pathways. I stare at all the hallways in this fun house. The halls seem to go on and on with no ending. Dr. Doom, who made the tear, scalpel snakes that put it there, it's a fun house, it's a maze. It's how you frame those days that leads you other ways. Fistulas strike passageways through heart and health and home. Fistulas are narrow wings that tread on like a palm. Fistula, my two-way street. Can passageways lead to brighter days? I've yet to meet a many-rooted street. Fistulas are long on course while you can wait for bed. Fistulas are drips and bores from a lazy shower head. Fistulas are passageways, no way in, no way out, only through. Fistulas tie up in knots, it all comes down to you. And it's all up to you where there's there's no way in or out but through. What damage can you do when the scars already stick like glue? Fistulas are passageways with multi-visceral streets and never-ending days, with never-answered prayers and mysteries unsolved, with guessing games from trusted brains when we've tried to do their job. Fistulas won't tie in bows, just plugged by guys who claim to know. But when everything comes out of you, your outsides, insides bleeding too. What's fact and proven melts like glue when there's no way in or out, just through. On passageways, it all comes down to you. That's it. That was just thank you. I never read that before. Sorry. My last 2-minute wrap up. As was mentioned before, The Body Knows, and a big book that changed my life. Buy it if you haven't. I bought copies for my whole family for Hanukkah. The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. Has anyone read that or seen the blue cover? Oh my God, book. I gotta tell you. But a quote from there was the inspiration for the new play that I workshopped, and also made a lot of things click. I just want to read this quote. The imprints of traumatic experiences are organized not as coherent logical narratives, but in fragmented sensory and emotional traces, images, sounds, and physical sensations. And that I've submitted that in my artist statement for so many residencies as the reason why I'm a multidisciplinary creator, because that is it. And that is why, to tell our story, we don't always have words, and we don't always need words. And it doesn't always have to be chronological, and it doesn't always have to make sense. It's these random imprints of this flash of light, of these sounds, of this movement, of this shadow. That's how trauma comes together with us into a mosaic that we can create ourselves. We take those broken pieces and we turn it into whatever the heck we want. And that's what can be liberating about trauma, even if we're still going through it, because it sucks when trauma happens, but there's no reason why we can't liberate ourselves even for a minute from it, even if it's just a minute without getting the answer. And it's something that I tell myself every day, and there's no reason why we all can't tell ourselves that. So that's all. And before all this, this would have ended life is a detour, and life still is a detour, and sometimes those detours can go underground in passageways or however we want. So as an invitation to this conference, go to all the workshops and find whatever imprints and passageways and detours make sense to you, and just throw them together and you'll be great. You'll be so thank you.
So Amy's also going to teach you guys how to use PowerPoint. She's doing a presentation on that. Thank you all. What a beautiful night. For those of you who are night owls, at 9:45, the open mic will start, so that's about 5 minutes from now. Heather will be hosting. Here's Heather. And she has the list. So if you're... Oh. Oh. Wah, wah. So if anybody would like to sign up, is anybody feeling an open mic tonight?